the future really is on YouTube, and I think it's going to pay off because YouTube is beating Netflix in terms of streaming rights. Now these numbers can be twisted, but the gist of it is that especially young people are turning to YouTube.
Welcome back to the Clear Pod. We're still here with David McKillop to dive in a little bit further. Really, just to talk about high science this time. This has been a project. It's actually how we met and through the show. And I would love to hear, we kind of ended the last episode talking a little bit about your process, your inspiration, being curious, kind of, how things fit together. So I'd love to know, how did high science come about, and what was it about the show that you felt like the story needed to be told?
Yeah. So, I got out of the programming business a number of years ago, kind of rode the wave of cable. We're very successful, all these successful shows, and streaming has now come in and begun to redefine how we watch television and all the rest. But I also, as I got older, I felt like I really wanted to put my talents and my passions towards things that can educate people, that can help people. And Ed LeClaire approached me because he's a passionate. We're like, some people look at us and go, it's like Mutt and Jeff. We're complete opposites.
Yeah.
But in some ways, we complement each other. Anyway, he approached me that he had this idea of starting this company. He wanted to really get people to understand the potential that cannabis has in both, and not just recreational, but really in medicinal and other areas. And so he approached me about, can we do some public service announcements? And we started talking, and we kind of came up with this idea, well, why don't we just do a media company,
Yeah.
Let's start a community.
Absolutely.
And this community would have access to information. And Ed said, but I want you to make that information entertaining. And so that's how it all kind of started. And then as I got, as I started doing, when I was a kid, we smoked a lot of dope, but I hadn't been around cannabis in a long time. And when it just got too strong.
But yeah, it is very strong now.
There's a great brand out there called Dad Weed, which is, I think the motto is the weed that your dad used to smoke, and it's just very mild and can roll a doobie and smoke it. But
well, that's the new effects line through the Clear, is it's low potency for just.
I actually think that if you want to get the old guys and women, you want to go with that low potency. But anyway, there's so many benefits. When I started doing the research, I was astonished. And we started coming, and as Ed and I started doing the research, we started meeting people. We met Rick and Rich through the Clear. We met John Piasecki.
He's great. Love him.
Who is, he is like Thomas Jefferson. He's, he's just an amazing man. And he's so passionate. He understands the history of the relationship between the evolution of the plant and human beings.
Right.
And just an amazing guy. He lives in a little self-sufficient farm up in the mountains of Massachusetts in the Berkshires. Then we met icons. We met people like Johnny Greenfingers, and we met Chemdog, who was one of the first people. He was at a Grateful Dead concert as a young man, and there was some really good weed going around. So back in those days, there was seeds in the weed. So he actually pulled some seeds out and started trying to figure out why this weed was really good. It was probably some of the first sensimilla that had come up from Mexico. So we had all been used to, and sensimilla, I think, means seedless. Anyway,
it sounds
strong.
Good. Yeah.
And we met some people who were out there doing amazing retail experiences, like Megan Eric at Canna Provisions. And then we met this father-son team that weren't really in the weed business, but they had this business of helping people cultivate, and just really passionate, really smart, really fun people, which is Growers House. And Paulie.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. And we met scientists. We met Mo, his mother had been suffering from cancer anyway. She created a cream. And so this was all of it was really exciting. And I thought, like, how do we get this out there? And I also realized when I'm talking to these incredibly fun, bright entrepreneurs, that if you want to if Ilava wants to make a hand cream, he has to make it with THC or cannabis that is grown in Arizona.
Yeah.
And he can't export it or he can't import weed in to make it, which is just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. No other industry works that way at all.
And the federal government doesn't give you any kind of tax breaks. You can't write off your R&D.
No, the taxes are higher. Yeah.
You're effectively having to, 70% of your profits go to expenses and you can't take any of that as a write-off. And then we started just learning about the power of helping people, especially veterans. And Ed actually was so moved by that he created the High Science Foundation, where we're really working with ex-military folks to try to convince the federal government to legalize it, because the studies that are coming out are showing that for the treatment of PTSD,
it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor, and I'm not telling anybody that they should go out and self-treat or anything like that. But I'm just talking about the science and the personal stories. And we have in episode 4, we have this incredible story of a young man, veteran, and his journey with PTSD and his embracing of cannabis.
I actually just got goosebumps because I know I've seen this story and it just, oh yeah, that's.
Here was a guy who was brought up in a very conservative family where drug use was just considered, a marijuana use was considered a starter drug, and so he fought it. But I'll let people look at the story. It's a very, very moving story. So we started putting this together, and so we then I said to Ed, well, I just gonna have to, how are we gonna just tie all of this together? And we felt that maybe the best spokespeople to do it would be the Clear, Rich and Rick, because they've been on a similar journey in their entrepreneurial spirit. And we really wanted to embrace the entrepreneurialism as the kind of risk in the show. And so that's how we set it up. And so Rick and Rich are basically our guides to the cannabis business. And we also have, and they're kind of the new wave.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's some competition between the OGs
and the suits, right?
Suits,
yeah,
which you'll see in the show. We embrace both. In fact, we have one of the fun moments. We have an interstitial, which is a piece we just dropped into the show with one of the great OGs. Kelly Moss. I'm not going to say what his moniker is. I don't think I'm allowed to say that on the air.
Probably not.
You can see it on the show. And he just takes us through the old school, from explaining nickel bags, and they weighed exactly what a nickel weighs, and a nickel weighs exactly 2 ounces or something.
Oh, I didn't know that was why they called it.
I forget what it is, but yes, a nickel bag, because they had postal scales and they'd hang a nickel to confirm it, and then they would. And how to, different types of rolling. And he's just an incredible character. And then we also have an interstitial that's a science piece, so that we can just break away and just talk very specifically about a specific time. But we did that fun too. I mean, we created a scientist named William High, Heigh, who is our science guy.
Yeah, great.
And he explains all of the elements. So we've woven all of that together. It's like a fabric. And we're going to put it on YouTube.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. So it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah. Look, we thought maybe we'd get it on a streaming network or one of the old cable networks, but we think that the future really is on YouTube. And I think it's going to pay off, because Variety just recently came out that, YouTube is beating Netflix in terms of streaming rights. Now, these numbers can be twisted in, but the gist of it is that especially young people are turning to YouTube.
Yeah.
And YouTube reminds me of cable when I was a 20-year-old kid getting into cable, when cable was brand new and the shining monoliths were the big networks. and everybody laughed at me because I was going to go, work in cable.
Right.
But we proved them wrong.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why we chose YouTube. It's a very strategic decision, and we had to adjust the show. That's why it took some time. We had to go back and say, this isn't a network show anymore. This is going to be a YouTube show.
Right.
But we're bringing all the quality of a network show. I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, I don't know if people are going to say, oh, this is like quality on YouTube, and there's a lot of quality stuff popping up on YouTube now. Or they're going to say, nah, this doesn't, your format doesn't fit YouTube, and it's like 1 foot on the dock, 1 foot on the boat. You're making promises, and they're not going to, you're going to lose an audience. But we'll see.
Well, I think it's very accessible. Anybody can watch YouTube. And so that's easy. Then that's the problem with the streaming service is maybe they have it, they don't have it, they want to pay for it. Yeah. And then the other thing is, to go back to what you were talking about, people like to watch the show, they like a story, but then if they want more information, they're going to go to the internet. But YouTube is kind of that nice in-between ground where anytime I'm thinking of anything, I'll search it on YouTube first, because somebody's probably put a video out about it that's educational, and you can get a couple of them. And so I think it's really that nice middle ground between, here, if you're looking for education on cannabis and this kind of thing, you're looking for a story, and somebody could just bump into it online and what is this, and watch it.
That's exactly right, because our real goal and Ed's vision is that we need to educate people on cannabis, and especially the young and the old. I mean, I speak at, I don't speak, I go to friends' dinner parties and stuff, and I meet older couples, and they're saying, oh, every time I hear the same story, oh, we decided to go take some gummies, and we ate one, it didn't work, and then we ate another one, and every story ends up with them like either in the emergency room,
right,
or somehow so traumatized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they said, we didn't know.
Well, and my argument has been, everybody has that experience with alcohol, almost across the board. The first time anybody drinks alcohol, they don't do it well. It's a horrible experience.
Never drink gin.
But right, because the first time you did it, it was a bad idea.
Excellent.
But most people will overcome that because it's so socially accepted to drink alcohol that no matter how bad the experience was, next time they're at a dinner party or something, like, okay, I'll try again. And cannabis, we don't have that. And I think the thing is, the benefits for cannabis are so much better if you can, if you know how to properly dose it for yourself, if you can kind of temper it for you. And it's just getting people kind of over that objection of like, I had this one bad experience, and it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. And also there's a quality and a consistency issue.
Right.
That's the other big thing. So that, I think if you have a great experience with something, and then you go back and you think you're using the same amount and the same weed, and it's not a great experience, it's because it's very different. So you have to educate yourself. So you have to actually read the label when it says what percentage of THC it is, or is it indica or sativa or the terpenes? I don't know. You have to watch the show to figure all that out. But when the suits come in, to some degree, there's a sense of consistency and continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people will then, and that's where you can brand around that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Clear did a really amazing job with vape in that. And being able to have that consistent delivery of a quality product.
Same product every time. And the hard part, across state lines.
Yeah, that's
the other thing is how do you brand and it's the same product, but then still being able to do it, because you have to recreate the entire business, supply chain in each state or each country, really, to get the same product.
And we're going to try to do that in High Science. We're trying to, with High Science, as I say, it's a media company. We have a web page, and we have the show, and we have the charity foundation. And we'll try to launch some other products, but we really want people to join that community so that they can learn with others. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to launch our own brands of flower. Initially, I think it's just flower pre-rolls and we'll be and some oils and stuff. But the idea there is to say that this is a trusted brand. Mm-hmm. We'll work out deals with all distributors in every different state. It's not like we can just manufacture them in Mexico or in Arizona and then just ship them to 50 states.
Not yet.
No.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure it's going to be that anytime soon. Yeah.
Probably.
But we can create franchises, so to speak, within every state, and we can then control the quality and the experience. So that's the other piece of it that Ed's been working very hard on in launching the High Science brand. I've been really just focused on the entertainment side of it.
Well, you are in the right place. This is definitely your wheelhouse, and I think I'm so excited for the show. So, do we have an official launch date? Do we know when it's coming?
Yes, I think I can say we're going to launch on YouTube on November 27th. We're going to drop the first 2 episodes. We have 8 episodes, and then we'll drop one every other week and we're not trying to like be fun here or hold back shows. That's as they're being finished.
Right.
Basically being finished on a weekly basis.
So somebody could go to YouTube and they could search High Science and
YouTube. The YouTube channel is actually just up and running now, even though we don't have that we have some other content on it. And Ed and I are in discussions with other filmmakers and as we grow the brand and secure our cash flow, we will be producing specifically more shows.
Oh, great. Okay.
Now we're thinking about a show of I can't tell exactly what it is because we haven't cut a deal yet, but it's about a tribe that lives up in the mountains of South America, and they over history have been they're very remote and secretive, and they have this kind of whole world philosophy. But they had run-ins with the conquistadors. They had run-ins with the cartels, the Somalian drug cartels in Colombia, and so now there's a group that's been working with them, and they just have an agricultural product and an agricultural essence, and part of it is growing cannabis as well as coffee and not even chocolate. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, so all kinds of good things coming. So for High Science, for the show that is coming out, what is your vision? Is there going to be a season 2? Depends on how it goes.
Coming in as I thought, how many seasons could we do? And I thought, well, maybe 1. But after meeting so many of these amazing people, that we could do spin-offs. I mean, some of the people who we've met and you'll see in the show, we could probably do a show with them. John Piasecki, I mean, he's just an incredible guy.
Absolutely.
Lovable, incredible guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other ones I mentioned, almost all of them, we could do a separate show. So yeah, if we get our funding and we start to build the business, which is what Ed's been working so hard on, we'll definitely go for a season 2.
That's great news. So everyone should check out season 1 on YouTube on the 27th.
You're in it.
And I am in it. No, I know. I am in it. So thank you.
Being modest.
Check it out on YouTube, please. And we'll look forward to more content coming out as soon. And
look us up on High Science.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.